Everybody, welcome to the Red Zone. Sean Brown, Michael Johnson here, and it's time for Week 4 college football picks. Already into Week 4. That's like a quarter of the season, I think, if you think about it. So anyway, before we get started, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't subscribed, like the video, leave a comment, hit that notification bell. You'll know every time we have a new video put up. Just a quick take on last week. Colorado was a great game, Colorado State. My quick take on that, the late hit on Travis Hunter was dirty.
Yeah.
I don't mind. People are calling that the kid should have been ejected. That's fine with me. But it was pretty dirty when Shadir Sanders tried to poke the kid's eye out too. So my point is, if you're going to throw them out, throw them both out. That's my point.
Okay, so and two wrongs don't make a right, but you can see in that video where Sanders goes to poke the guy's eyes, it looks like that guy tried to do the same to him before, but Sanders has a visor on, so obviously he can't. It looks like he kind of hit him in the face mask or something. But then you got to be, as Shadir Sanders, like you have to be smarter than that. Like you want Heisman votes, that's not going to get you Heisman votes.
Right.
Like you're playing good enough to get Heisman votes this year. Don't screw it up. Like be disciplined. If they push you, don't push them back. Like just let them get in trouble for it. Let them look like they're taking plenty of heat, through the media this week, or they will. Let them take that heat. Don't stoop to their level. Like be above that. I just
think whatever they want to do, either you let them play or you throw them out. I don't care. Just do it.
Just be consistent.
Be consistent.
Yeah. I agree.
My favorite game of the week, Pitt, West Virginia. Watched that whole game. That was just a great game. West Virginia's defense was really dominant. Jurkovec, the quarterback for Pitt, I don't even know if he threw for 100 yards. I mean, it was ugly. I mean, I think he threw 3 interceptions. The week before he got booed at home by the crowd. He was a transfer in. At this point, at this point, you got to bench him. I don't care if you don't have anybody on the bench as a backup quarterback, but when your fans have booed you, your confidence is shaken. You can't ride the season with him. You got to put him on the bench, put somebody else in, and if those players, your backups, come in and play terrible, then later on you can put him back in and say, well, we gave the other guys a shot, but it didn't work. The other game of interest, Alabama struggled with South Florida. They really did.
Yeah, well, and then probably the most I say probably, I think a lot of people would agree with me, South Alabama beating Oklahoma State as bad as they did, and this is not for me to pile on them. With this show, I try to stay as unbiased as possible, but that was the most embarrassing loss of the week.
I mean, anytime that a Power 5 school pays a group of 5 to come to their place to play and they lose, it's ugly.
I mean, and those fans, I saw somebody tweeted earlier, these fans deserve better. Nobody deserves anything. I mean, even Alabama, Georgia fans, you don't deserve to win. Like nobody just straight up just deserves to win just because of who they are. But those fans are as passionate and loyal a fan base as just about any fan base there is.
When you talk about deserving, South Alabama deserves it. The last few years, they've been a good football team. And they have a fan base, and they put in the work. Oklahoma State went and got a defensive coordinator from some Division II school I hadn't even heard of, who only won 6 or 7 games last year. They were mediocre at best. That's your defensive coordinator. You lose your top linebacker to USC to transfer. You lost others to the transfer portal. And you're playing 3 quarterbacks because you don't have a quarterback.
Well, and you lost Trace Ford to Oklahoma. You lost a defensive back to Tulsa. I mean, the thing about Mike Gundy is he's going to have to swallow his pride at some point and start playing the NIL game. Start playing the transfer portal game, or else you're going to be in this new Big 12. You're going to be right where you're at right now. They're primed to take over this conference.
They could, but right now they're a bottom half team because they're not keeping up.
They're not going to take over anything. They're going to have, the TCUs. They're going to have the Utahs, the Cincinnatis, the UCFs. Houston's horrible right now, but those types of teams are gonna and Kansas State, they're gonna jump Oklahoma State if Oklahoma State doesn't start playing the game. I know T. Boone Pickens isn't around anymore, but you're gonna have to find some money to start getting some of these players. And I know that Mike Gundy wants to just hunker down and not do it, but you have to in this day and age. You just have to.
Last game talk about before we get to the picks. Missouri 61-yard field goal to win the game, beat Kansas State.
And I saw another deal on that. This same Mavis, I'm probably screwing up his last name, but this kicker lost the game to Kansas State last year and got to get redemption with a 60, the longest field goal in SEC history. I don't particularly like Missouri, especially right now, and their fans know why. But I don't know. It was pretty cool to see that guy get redemption and get to. And here's the thing: if a kicker has a walk-off like that, give him 5 seconds to take a victory lap.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like when I see the whole team going after it. Like, let him take his lap and then go join him for the celebration. I know you want to go, like, hype up the kid, but, I always love seeing a kicker just running around the stadium just going nuts. But anyway.
Okay, let's get to week 4 picks. We're going to try to limit ourselves to 1 minute per game. Quick, just a couple notes and make a pick.
Yeah.
So we don't want to talk too long. Got 20 games to go through here. We did pretty good last week. Again, pretty decent, so let's just keep the ball rolling. Wisconsin, 7-point favorite at Purdue. Over-under on this, 54.5. Purdue, to me, has surprised with their offense, but they don't have a lot of defense. Wisconsin, on the other hand, has not been what I think everybody expected with Luke Fickell being there. Their offense hasn't hit a stride yet. You would think with Tanner Mordecai, they would just be putting up 30, 40 points a game.
Yeah.
And they're not really doing it. They're struggling. They have not figured it out yet. I like Wisconsin to win the game. I'm on the fence with this one. I had Purdue covering, but I'm going to go ahead and take Wisconsin. I just think Purdue's offense could keep this within 4 points. But I'm going to go ahead and take Wisconsin.
Tanner Mordecai should have never left SMU.
No.
I mean, he was putting up monster numbers. If you remember last year, he was into like week 5 or 6. I mean, he was the top guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he was the guy week in and week out we were talking about. And for him to transfer to Wisconsin, and what's funny is Nick Anderson, who also started at, not Nick Evers, who started at OU as well, ended up transferring to Wisconsin, and then Wisconsin gets another 2 quarterbacks after that and just buries Evers on the depth chart.
But I think if you think about it with what Luke Fickell did at Cincinnati, I mean, their offense was always kicking. And look at what Desmond Ritter's doing for the Atlanta Falcons right now.
It may just be, Tanner Mordecai comes in, only gets 1 year with these guys. He's not, and the system might be bad for him. Who knows?
Who you got?
Because Wisconsin normally likes to rush the ball a lot. But
you went under 54.5, by the way.
I'm taking, so this is also an old OU versus Texas with Hudson Card being at Purdue and Tanner Mordecai being at Wisconsin. We had that last year with Caleb Williams and Cam Rising. That was pretty cool. But anyway, so I'm going to go Wisconsin, and I'm going to take the over.
Over? Okay.
Yeah.
Auburn is at Texas A&M. Texas A&M, 6.5-point favorite. Over under on this, 52.5. I've really been surprised with what Auburn's been able to do. I think they beat Cal last week, so now they get Texas A&M. Texas A&M earlier in the year lost to Miami. They're turning it around from what they did last year, but I'm not impressed with them. I think the 6.5 is because of power rankings and what they have on paper and how good they should be as opposed to how good they actually are. So I'm going to take Auburn in the points. And as far as 52.5, I'm going to go under.
Auburn on paper, their offense looks pretty balanced. They're giving up just over 100 yards on the ground. I'm going to take A&M. I think their passing game right now a little bit better than Auburn's. Not rushing for as much, but I don't know. I just think with Texas A&M, they've been recruiting really, really well over the last couple of years. I'm going to take them at home. And the over-under was what?
52.5.
52.5. I'll take the under.
Under on that one.
Yeah.
Rutgers is at Michigan. Michigan is a 26-point favorite. Over-under 45.5. Michigan, even though they won 31-6 or something like that, they really struggled for the first half against Bowling Green.
Yeah.
They showed that they are, we talked about this earlier in the day. There's not a single team out there that has just run away dominant where you're like, Yeah, they're going to win the national championship.
Right.
There just isn't a dominant team out there, including Michigan. I think Michigan is vulnerable, but I think they're going to beat Rutgers. But I think Rutgers has improved to the point where I think Rutgers can keep this one close as well, within 26.5. I'm going to, boy, that's risky though. I'm going to take Michigan to cover.
26
I don't want to, or 26. Michigan 26. I really want to take Rutgers, but I'm going to stick it with Michigan. 45.5. Let's go over.
I'm going to take Rutgers. They're only giving up 69.7 yards on the ground, and that's what, Michigan has got the 1-2 punch with Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards.
Yeah, and
then and I know Rutgers has only played Virginia Tech, Temple, and Northwestern. I mean, really 3 teams that don't really have much of a pulse, but Michigan hasn't really played anybody either, and they struggled for the first half against Bowling Green. I'll take Rutgers to cover, and I'm going to go with the
45.5.
I'm going to go with the under.
Under on that.
Yeah.
All right. Florida State, 1-point favorite against Clemson. Over under 55.5. Florida State survived Boston College. Easily could have lost that game.
Yeah.
That was an ugly game.
I wonder how much okay, so Boston College, they had their game, their Wells, I forget the guy's name, but it's their Wells game where they honor, I'm blanking on his first name, but died in 9/11. So they've got the cool red bandanas, for them and stuff, and even in their helmets and in their uniforms, they have that bandana pattern. It's pretty cool. So, Boston College was hyped for that game. Florida State probably looking ahead a little bit to Clemson. But I am going to I'm not going to overreact too much on a team, going against a decent-looking Boston College team. They still won the game at Boston College. I'll take Florida State. I think they're a little bit further ahead than what Clemson is right now. I know it's at Clemson, but I have to take Florida State.
I'm taking the home team underdog. I'm taking Clemson, and I'm going over the 55.5.
Yeah, I'll take the over as well.
Okay. Oklahoma is a 14-point favorite at Cincinnati, over under 60.5. I'm taking Cincinnati to keep it within 14. I think this turns into a very close game. Cincinnati did struggle last week with Miami of Ohio. Not going to overreact to that. Nippert Stadium is going to be absolutely rocking for this game. And did you know this game's on Friday night?
I did not know that.
This game, I believe, is on Friday.
Are you sure? Because it's
on
Saturday.
It's on Saturday?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. They had it listed
it's
as
11
a
a.m.
Friday game
kickoff.
In the sports book. Okay.
11 a.m. on Fox.
11 a.m. Okay. Well, I'm going to take Cincinnati to keep it within 14. I know Oklahoma's offense has been rocking lately, but that Cincinnati defense is one of the best in college football. I think this ends up being a game where I'm taking the under 60.5. I think this is a game where it's 30-27, 30-25, something like that. So, give me Cincinnati and the under.
I'm taking OU. I know it's at Cincinnati, and I know Cincinnati has a couple of D linemen that will likely be playing in the NFL whenever their college days are done. But people have tried to stop the run with Oklahoma. They haven't really gotten a run game together that well. I don't think they've had a running back eclipse 100 yards yet for a game. But Dylan Gabriel's just locked in right now. I mean, he had a 90% completion percentage with more than 25 attempts this last week. And I know it was Tulsa, but SMU showed this last week that they're not bad. I mean, they beat a team like 69-0. So they've got a high-powered offense. SMU, that being, with Oklahoma only giving up 11 points there. Their defense is just rolling right now. And who would have thought that, Oklahoma fans don't really stress the defense. I've talked to a lot of people online, and the consensus is kind of nobody's really worried about the defense right now. It's the offense that, from week to week, they could be down, they could be up. But I think they figured a lot of things out in this last game against Tulsa. Tulsa wasn't very good in the secondary and gave up a lot. I think that they're not going to have to really rely on their running a lot. And they'll just be able to pass all over the place. So
you got Oklahoma.
I've got Oklahoma.
Over, under.
I'm going to take the
60.5.
That's risky. I'll take the over. I'll take the over.
Kentucky is a 14-point favorite heading into Vanderbilt. 50.5 is the over-under here. I'm going to call Vanderbilt Stadium the construction zone right now. So they're going to go play in the construction zone. I don't know why. Everything says that Kentucky covers this, but my gut tells me Vanderbilt makes a huge game of this and keeps it close at home. I'm going to take Vanderbilt in the points, but going to go over 50.5.
So A.J. Swan's already thrown 4 interceptions on the year, and Devin Leary has already thrown 3 interceptions. So I'm not sure what to really take of that. Kentucky's run defense has been really good. Again, another team that hasn't really played. They've played Akron, Eastern Kentucky, and Ball State.
Yeah.
They did take care of business. Now it's a little bit closer with Eastern Kentucky. And Vanderbilt played Hawaii. They're actually into their 5th game because they played that week 0. Vanderbilt's lost the last 2 weeks. One to UNLV, one at Wake. I know they're coming back home, but I got to take Kentucky in this.
To cover 14?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
and
next one.
I'll take the under.
Under on that? Okay. Ole Miss is at Alabama. Alabama's a 7-point favorite, 54.5 here. Ole Miss's defense is actually looking a little better each week. Definitely better than it was last year. I think this is the year Lane Kiffin becomes the next assistant to beat Nick Saban. I think Alabama drops this game. I'm taking Ole Miss.
Hadn't he already beat him once?
No, I don't. Maybe, but no, I don't think so.
I thought he beat him already.
Maybe he did. Maybe I'm forgetting that. Anyway, I'm taking Ole Miss in this game, and I'm going to go under 54.5 because I don't know if Alabama's going to score a lot of points here. They still don't have a quarterback. They played all 3 of them last week.
Go back to Jalen Milroe and just whatever happens. Just, you can't go into week 4 with a quarterback battle still. Especially for a team like Alabama. And Alabama struggled with USF. I know there was a weather delay and all this stuff, and South Alabama seemed to have a running back that was just a bowling ball, but I'm going to take Ole Miss as well. I think they keep it close, if not win. It is at Bryant-Denny, so I don't know. That place can get pretty loud.
The other thing too is it's already been reported that he's been telling Nick Saban this is probably his last year. So he's been that's been what's been reported.
I mean, it looks like it. Like in press conferences, I mean, I know he can always be kind of a curmudgeon, but he just looks extra checked out this year. I'm going to go the over as well.
Over under. Yeah, I took the under. Okay. UCLA is at Utah. Utah is a 6-point favorite, 52.5. I'm taking Utah, and I'm taking the over. I'm just sold on Utah. I think they're really good. I think with how Florida played this last week against Tennessee, just really, to me, kind of reiterates how good Utah really is for how they took care of Florida. Florida's got athletes. I mean, I know people have been down on them. I know Florida Gator fans were down on them after they lost to Utah, but listen, that's still a pretty good football team, and they showed it this past week. So I think Utah is the best team in the Pac-12. I really do, and I know that's saying a lot with Washington, USC, and Oregon State, the way they're playing. I think Utah's the best. I think Utah wins this by probably 8 points. So, give me Utah.
So there was word that Cam Rising would maybe be back for Weber State this past week. He wasn't. So you got to wonder, is he going to be back for this week? And will he go? I think if he is back, I definitely take UCLA just because he's going to have some rust. I mean, I know he's a very experienced quarterback, but I don't think you just get right in there and get rolling, after being injured that long. Either way, I'm going to take UCLA to keep it a close game.
Okay.
Both teams are 3-0. One of the O's has got to go.
Yeah.
Heard that on the radio.
Yeah.
I'm still rhyming. Sorry. UCLA has taken care of business, and they're averaging 527 yards total per game. And both teams defensively on paper are given about the same amount, 209 through the air for UCLA, 205 through the air for Utah, and 69.7 on the ground for UCLA, and 65 on the ground for Utah, and that's their defenses. UCLA, Coastal Carolina is probably the only team they've really played that's up to any kind of standard that would give them a test. Utah, they beat Florida, they beat Baylor, and then had kind of a tune-up game with Weber State. So
it's a get healthy game.
A get healthy game. Seriously, they didn't need to play Cam Rising, but I'm going to take UCLA either way in this to keep it
over
within. Under. Give me the over on that one.
All right. Colorado at Oregon. Oregon is 17.5-point favorite. Over under 70.5. This one is probably the game of the week that everybody's going to want to watch. Actually, it's not the game of the week. Ohio State Notre Dame is probably the game of the week.
Yeah.
But Colorado Oregon is going to be one that everybody's going to have a lot of interest in. Travis Hunter is out for at least 2 more weeks, so they do not have him.
Yeah.
Still have Shadir Sanders.
Game day can't just follow around Colorado every week.
Yeah, they're going to be in South Bend this week. They already announced that. Listen, I think it's admirable everything Colorado's done. I know they're undefeated at 3-0. This is the real test. This is the real test, and I think that they really get smacked in the mouth this week and come down to reality a little bit, especially without Travis Hunter. I got Oregon covering 17.5.
Well,
over under, I'm going to go under 70.5.
And Colorado's really been doing all this without really having to run the ball a whole lot.
Yeah.
61 yards per game offensively isn't great, but when you look at 418 yards through the air, Oregon's just a more balanced team. The only thing that really kind of scares me on this is it's 17.5. Like, can the skill position players for Colorado, can they do it against, a team that is going to have a better roster from top to bottom?
I think a lot of people are going to want to take Colorado in this game. One, because of prime, the hype, and Oregon struggled with Texas Tech.
Yeah.
That and who is, they had to come back. It's that last second interception to cover. People are going to see that, and they're going to say, well, there's no way Oregon can cover 17.5 against Colorado. That's where I think that's where you overreact to one game. And I think Oregon is clearly far and ahead the better team here.
Well, and here's the thing, though. Colorado has definitely been more battle-tested than Oregon. I mean, Oregon did play they beat Portland State 81-7. Then they had to travel to Texas Tech, which is a pretty tough place to play. I mean, it's pretty hostile. Yeah. But a 17.5, I can't. Not with a team that's got as much hype around them.
Yeah. So you're going Colorado.
I'm going Colorado. 17.5 just looks like way too much for me.
Over under 70.5.
I'm gonna take the. I'd probably have to go the over, because both teams I think will score points. So okay. I'm gonna go with the over.
Miami is a 24.5-point favorite against Temple. Over under 53. I'll take Miami to cover that. I'll go over 53. Miami is rolling right now. I mean, for all the crap that I've given them over the past few years, they have finally found their niche. They've turned it around. Yeah. Miami's for real.
And that's really all they needed to start doing to really start convincing some of these recruits, because they've got the NIL.
Yeah.
And they're starting to they just got a 5-star receiver committed to this class, and I mean, they start winning, and watch out. I mean, they might take over Florida there.
They might
once the Jordan Travis is graduate or go on to the NFL, what have you, from Florida State. So look out for Miami.
Yeah,
I'm taking Miami. I'm gonna go with the over on that.
All right, BYU is at Kansas. Kansas 7.5-point favorite. 56.5 is the over under here. BYU came back against Arkansas. That was a heck of a good game as well. Kansas has been winning. They've been, doing their thing.
Yeah.
BYU is going to be too much for them. I think reality kind of sinks in a little bit this week. I got BYU outright winning the game, and I'll go under on the 56.5.
See, I'm going to take Kansas. They've only had Nevada, Illinois, and Missouri State. And BYU played Arkansas 38-31. Southern Utah and Sam Houston. Not really a whole lot of... I mean, Arkansas, I guess, at Arkansas comes back to win that one. But I like what Kansas is doing. They're averaging 500 yards total offense. And a lot less. And granted, they haven't played the competition that BYU has played, but I like Kansas in this one.
All right, Texas Tech, 5.5-point favorite at West Virginia, over under 55. West Virginia got the great win last week in the backyard brawl against Pitt, rivalry game. Their defense looked outstanding. Their offense, their quarterback Green got hurt early, very early in the game. I can't remember his last name. Machi something. Anyway, he comes in, looked decent. Good game manager.
Nico Marchiol.
Yeah, he looked decent. He didn't like blow away, win the starting job or anything like that.
He only threw 9 passes. So
well, good. Well, there was hardly any passes thrown that whole game. Both teams just ran the ball the whole game. The one thing I will say is West Virginia's offensive line is pretty solid. But that defense looked great. They really looked good. The problem is you come off of a game like that and you tend to have a little bit of a letdown.
Yeah.
Texas Tech has an offense that's far better than Pitt. And I think what happens is they get that defense will still play well. They're still going to limit Texas Tech. But I don't think the offense for West Virginia is going to be able to put up enough points to get the win. I'm going to take Texas Tech to win this by 7, and I'll go under 55. I don't think it becomes a high-scoring game at all.
Well, Morgantown will rival Lubbock at times at craziness and rabid fan base. So it'll be pretty difficult, but I got to take Texas Tech in this one. They lost by 8 points to Oregon, who's pretty good. And then they lost in double overtime to Wyoming at Wyoming. Mm-hmm. Wyoming is kind of becoming that like Power 5 killer, who was it?
App State became when they first beat Michigan.
Well, in North Dakota State.
And then they started becoming that team.
Was it North Dakota State that Chris Kleiman came from?
Yeah, absolutely.
And they would always seem to have a Power 5 win under their belt in the beginning of the year. It's crazy to pay these schools, to lose then. Tarleton, I have no idea where that even is. And Texas Tech got a pretty good tune-up game. They might be one of the better 2-loss teams in the country right now. So I'm taking Texas Tech.
Okay.
And I'm going to go with the 55. I'm going to go with the under. I'm also going with the under on the BYU Kansas. I don't think I mentioned that.
Okay. Arkansas is at LSU. LSU is 17-point favorite, 55.5. I like the over on this one. I think pretty safe, I feel like, with the over. I'm going to take LSU to cover 17. They're finally, after that loss to Florida State, they're finally finding themselves. Their offense is clicking now. Arkansas just come off that home loss. It's kind of devastating to fight like that and end up getting a loss. They got to go on the road to Baton Rouge. That's one of the toughest places to play in all of college football. I think there's points scored, which is why I'm taking the over, but I'm going to take LSU.
Yeah. I don't love that their defense is giving up so much right now. LSU, that being. But they're killing it offensively right now. I have Arkansas marked down here just because of the 17, but I'm going to switch to LSU. Sorry, LSU fans. But hey, I've switched this year, and it's been fine. I've been fine. And then I'll go with the over on that.
Oregon State is a 2.5-point favorite at Washington State, over under 56. Give me the over easily on this one. And I got Washington State winning the game. They have been that quiet team this year. It's surprising everybody. They're putting up a ton of points. Their offense is just clicking. And, Oregon State's playing well too, but I think Washington State's just on another level right now.
Yeah, it's hard to really judge the three teams. I mean, Washington State did beat Wisconsin 31-22. And then Oregon State beat San Diego State 26-9. Oregon State kind of defensively a little bit better, but Washington State's offense just still rolling. I mean, they're throwing for almost 400 yards a game. Give me Washington State with the over.
Okay. Texas, 14.5-point favorites against Baylor. They're at Baylor, 52.5. Going to go over on that one, and I'm taking Baylor in the points in this one. It's kind of a rivalry game. It's a road game for Texas. Texas kind of struggled with Wyoming. And so, and I'm not trying to read too much into that, but I have some pause on Texas right now because that seemed like a very huge win beating Alabama. But then seeing them struggle with Wyoming and seeing Alabama struggle with South Florida, maybe those two teams aren't as good as we thought when they played it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I have some pause on Texas right now. 14.5 to me is too much. I will take Baylor to cover.
That's the thing, and a lot of people were commenting during the Baylor game. Of course, a lot of OU fans saying Texas isn't as good because Alabama's struggling.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a OU fan or a Texas fan or any of that. So that's just my observation.
How much does the weather delay affect that, like we talked about earlier? And the humidity, like you said.
Yeah, it was like near 100% humidity.
Yeah. Man, this 14.5 is what it's
I
at.
just think Dave Aranda's defense is going to cause some issues for Texas. Scoring-wise, I still think Texas wins the game. But you're talking about more than 2 touchdowns in Waco. I mean, against that defense. That seems a bit much.
I'm going to stick with my pick. I'll take Texas.
Okay.
And I'll go with the over.
Okay. Ohio State, 2.5-point favorite at Notre Dame.
That's mainly because I don't think Baylor's that good.
Okay. Ohio State, 2.5-point favorite at Notre Dame, over under 57. Ohio State's offense is finally starting to click. They're starting to figure things out going into week 4. This is when you should be figuring things out. Their defense is incredible. I mean, they just are. I mean, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. You know, on the other side of the ball, Sam Hartman is been lights out on offense. Notre Dame has really found themselves there. Defense at times has looked suspect. So this one is going to be a close game. That's why it's 2.5. But I think the Buckeyes come out on top. I just think they have the better athletes. I think they have better recruiting classes. And with that offense hitting its stride now, Kyle McCord threw for 3 touchdowns last week. Devin Brown got a few snaps. And with the defense, Jim Knowles' defense finally playing like we expected him to when he got to Columbus. I just think the Buckeyes are on the cusp of taking off and being that team that runs away and is dominant every week. Like we said, we haven't seen one yet. And I think they're almost there. They're right there on the edge. They just need a little push. But this win would be huge for them. They got to do it in South Bend. But I got the Buckeyes winning, and I got them covering.
Yeah, one name that kind of stands out, Audric Estime. He's already halfway to the century mark in week 4 for them, or week 5. They played that week 0. So this is their 5th game.
Yeah.
But he's already averaging over 100 yards per game. He's averaging 8.3 yards per carry. That's just insane. And then Travion Henderson, 191 yards on the ground, 4 touchdowns. Man, this is a tough one, but I'm going to stick with my gut. A couple weeks ago, if this game was, week 2, maybe even last week, I probably would have taken Notre Dame. But, like you said, Ohio State's starting to click. They've had a couple of good games to kind of get things settled. They did kind of struggle a little bit with Youngstown State, but then with Western Kentucky, 63-10.
And the impressive thing there is not the 63. The impressive is 10. That defense could hold Western Kentucky to 10, because Western Kentucky has a lights out offense.
Been able to throw the ball pretty well.
Any defense that can hold that team to 10 is a good defense.
Yeah.
So that's what I was impressed with, more so than the 63.
Yeah, it's the same way I felt with OU holding SMU to 11. So yeah, I'll take Ohio State. I think their defense is better. Okay. But that Audric Estime, look for him to have a big game.
Yeah, I kind of feel like
taking the over too.
I feel like Kyle McCord's probably going to throw for 2 touchdowns. I think Travion Henderson, Mine Williams, one of the two gets a touchdown on the ground. And then, 24-27 for the Buckeyes, 20 for Notre Dame, something like that. Okay, Iowa is at Penn State. Penn State is a 14-point favorite. Over-under on this is 40.5. That's pretty low for an over-under.
Yeah.
The deal here is that...
I mean, that's basically all on Iowa.
Right.
That's just because they don't think Iowa's going to score very much.
Well, but at the flip side of that, Iowa's defense has been so good for over the years. This one, I think, becomes that classic Big Ten game that is just knock 'em, sock 'em, not a lot of scoring, close game. I mean, this is one of them that could end up 10-6. I mean, it really could end up that way. So I do think Penn State wins the game. I think we talked about earlier, Penn State's probably the only team out there, if you wanted to make a case for a team that is like shooting for the stars above everybody, it's probably Penn State right now. But against Iowa, and Iowa has somewhat, with Cade McNamara, has some offense this year as opposed to previous years. I don't think Penn State covers 14. I'm going to take Iowa and the points. I think Penn State wins the game. And 40.5, that's low. I'm going to go under on that.
I'm going under, but I'm also going to take Penn State. I don't think, even with Cade McNamara, I mean, he's thrown 71 passes, connected on 38. That's not great. 417 yards total through the air, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions already, where Drew Aller is at 737 yards through the air and 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. I just think they've got the better offense. I believe they have the better defense. I will take Penn State in this, but I'm going to go with you on the under.
Under, okay. UCF is at Kansas State. Kansas State is a 7-point favorite, 56.5. I'll go over on that. And Kansas State rebounds after the loss to Missouri at home. They come back home. They win. I think they win maybe by 10. It'll stay close because UCF, but I'm just not. I don't think that Gus Malzahn is a big game kind of coach. I just don't. I don't think that he is capable of bringing UCF into Kansas State and them winning that game. So this probably is going to end up being a push. It's probably going to be Kansas State by 7. Well, but I'll take Kansas State to cover.
And John Reese Plumlee is out multiple weeks. He got injured not this past week, but I believe the week before that. Backup Timmy McClain came in and threw for 321 yards and 2 touchdowns against Villanova, but I don't think it's going to be enough to go against. Now Kansas State has film on Timmy McClain. I think they're going to have that week to watch film on him and be able to see his tendencies. So I will take Kansas State at home with the under.
Okay. USC, 31.5-point favorite against Arizona State, 62.5. Definitely give me the over on that. Arizona State's not good. They're
not good at all.
And actually, you know what? I'm going to go under on that because I think USC scores a ton of points and Arizona State might not even score.
But USC could score like 63 points.
They could. They could. They absolutely could. Okay. Yeah, you convinced me. Give me the over. All right. Here's the interesting thing. Obviously, I'm taking USC to cover 31.5. The interesting one about this, we don't normally talk about money line stats and everything.
Yeah.
This week at the opening, the biggest odds for a money line, Arizona State plus 1,666.
Oh.
I think the next biggest one was plus 700. So huge odds. If somehow Arizona State could win this game, somebody's going to bank some money if they take Arizona State. It might be worth putting $10 just on Arizona State just in case there's an upset.
Yeah.
But so obviously USC I think dominates this game.
Yeah. So just to give you some just where they're at. Arizona State played. They beat Southern Utah 24-21. They beat Oklahoma State, who we saw is not very good at all. Or they lost to Oklahoma State 27-15, and then they lost to Fresno State. They didn't score a point against Fresno State. They got 29 dumped on them.
Yeah.
And then USC is they may be the team. I mean, we were talking earlier. What team has just looked dominant? And I said USC.
Offensively, USC.
Yeah, you had said, but they gave up 28 in that first week, but they've given up 14 points to Nevada and 10 points to Stanford. 2 teams that aren't very good. Yeah. I know.
And San Jose State's not even that good.
But there are some people talking about them that know football, and they, they say they think that their defense looks better.
Yeah. So my take on USC real quick is I feel like I said this last week about Georgia. Georgia had played nobody to start the season.
Yeah.
And I took South Carolina to cover last week because I thought they're going to play South Carolina, and they just haven't played anybody, and they think they're really good, and then they're going to go play a decent team, and their reality is going to be a reality check. That's coming for USC. They have not played anybody, nobody. I mean, they should be scoring 60 points a game. But when they hit a Utah or an Oregon or a Washington, man, reality is going to smack them right in the mouth.
Yeah.
And they're going to be 5 games into the season thinking nobody can compete with us. And then they're going to come out, find themselves down by 20 at halftime, and not know how to come back and win. Yeah. That's what I see happening with USC. That is why I hate teams scheduling cupcakes for multiple weeks at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
I know they're automatic wins, but they don't get you ready for these big games.
Yeah.
They don't. So I think USC's in for a rude awakening in a couple weeks.
Which, who was it? There was a team I wanted to give a shout out to for having the best. I mean, they scheduled like just some tough opponents for the first 2 out of 3 weeks. You know, they scheduled. It may have been somebody Florida played. It may have been Utah. Did they play? They played Baylor in Florida.
Well, they played Florida and Baylor.
Yeah, Utah. So
State,
props to them because you never know. You schedule these games, 7 to 10 years in advance. You never know what Florida's going to be or what Baylor's going to be. It's not their fault that they're not that good this year, but I mean, just the fact that they went out and scheduled 2 Power 5 teams. Not a lot of teams are doing that.
Well, the only other team I know that does it year in year out is Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And now they catch some seasons where they schedule a team, like, for instance, one year, I think when they played Stanford, when they scheduled Stanford, that's when, like, Jim Harbaugh was there. They were winning. They were Pac-12 champs. Yeah. And so you scheduled them because they were really good. It's not their fault that by the time they catch them, they're terrible.
Right.
So, but they're not playing, the Mercers and all those other teams.
And right now you have so much movement in the conference realignment stuff that some of these teams, like OU, had a home-and-home series scheduled with Georgia, but since they're going to be in the SEC next year, they don't. The home-and-home would have been one of those teams would have had a home game this year, and then how do you make up that other deal? So they had to go and schedule SMU, and luckily they got that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm taking USC. I'm going to go the over.
Okay.
All
right.
That's what I got.
Last one. Cal is at Washington. Washington is a 20.5-point favorite. Cal has impressed me. I think they're a really good football team. But Washington, I'm sorry. I said at the beginning of the season, I'll say it until I'm blue in the face. Michael Penix Jr. is winning the Heisman. That guy is incredible. Washington has the best offense in all of college football. They are going to blow past 20.5 and win, probably win by 28. I'm going over 63.
Yeah, he's doing it on 74.3% completion percentage. He's got 1,332 yards so far. 11.8 yards per attempt, 12 touchdowns, 1 interception, a rating of 206.6. The guy is just insane.
Heisman stats right there.
I mean, I remember back when Kyler Murray was playing for Oklahoma, that looks like a stat line that followed closely to what Kyler. I mean, Kyler and Tua Tagovailoa, I think they were averaging over like 11.8 and 11.9 yards per attempt. So the guy is just extremely efficient. I'm trying to look for his rushing stats so far. He's only carried 4 times for 9 yards. So,
and that's great because don't run him.
Yeah, don't run him a ton.
Hurt. Just let him sit back in the pocket and sling it.
He has gotten injured, and when that happens, Indiana went just face first into the mud.
He got hurt at Indiana twice, I believe. Yeah. Got hurt at Washington. Don't run him. It's just dumb.
He's fine passing. He's a great pocket passer. I mean, the dude just, man, he's impressed this year. And I'm taking Washington, and I'm going to go with the over.
Hey guys, thank you for tuning in for Week 4 picks. Hey, I forgot to mention at the beginning, go check out Odds Jam. They have tons of tools that you're going to want. My picks have gotten so much better using all their stuff, using the resources they have available. Go check out Odds Jam. Sign up for their premium service. You're going to love it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed. Like the video, leave a comment. Always hit that notification bell. You know every time we upload a new video. And don't forget to check out my NFL picks during the week. I'm doing fantastic on those. Hey guys, thanks a lot. Good luck this week, and we will see you next week for Week 5 picks. Take care.
Give me my theme music.